Hello, everyone. All right, so we're going to do multiplying rationals. So if you turn to, of course, this page in your notes, we'll go ahead and get on this. So we have a couple review questions just to kind of go over factoring. So this is a binomial with some subtraction. So I'm going to try to square root the first term and try to square root the last term. So x to the fourth just means I have 4 x's. And I can look here and say, yep, this square roots evenly. I can take out 2 pairs, so it would turn into x squared. And I can square root 1, that turns into 1 times 1, which is a pair of 1s. So those are going to be my terms. Remember that when we do this, we have a plus and we have a minus version. So I'm going to go ahead and put those ones in there. We got x squared plus 1, and we have an x squared minus 1. Now, this one is a plus sign. There's nothing I can do with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring that and put it in my answer box. But this one here is a subtraction. So I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to see if I can square root x squared, and I'm going to see if I square root 1. So x squared breaks down to 2 x's, so I can take 1 out. So that worked out. And 1 again is 1 times 1, which is a pair of 1s. So this one breaks down again into another set of parentheses, which will be plus and minus. And I'm going to put those terms. So x was the first, so I'll put him first in both of those parentheses, and the 1 is at the end. Again, the plus sign, this guy can't go any further. So I'm just going to go ahead and put him inside the answer box. Cross him off, done with that one. I broke that guy down. Looking at this one, I'm going to check to see if I can square root this one. So again, I'm going to come here and I'm going to see, can I square root x? Well, in this case, I only have 1 x, so there's nothing that I can take out. So that means he stays inside, meaning he cannot go any further. So since that guy can't break down, I'm going to go ahead and put that last parentheses in there. So this one broke all the way down to x squared plus 1, x plus 1, and x minus 1. All right. This next one looks very similar to the top one. It has a subtraction. It's 2 terms. But right now I can't square root these. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can divide anything out of both of these. And in this case, I could divide an 8 out of both. So I'm going to pull the 8 out. In fact, I'm going to put it right in the answer box. I'm not going to worry about him after I do that. Then I'm going to turn around and go 24 divided by 8 is 3. So we have a 3 and an x. And 80 divided by 8 is 10. And again, I'm going to come back. I'm going to check to see if I can square root. So I look at this and say, can I square root 3x? And the answer is no, I cannot square root this. I can't square root 3, it won't go in evenly. Can't square root x, it won't go in evenly. Same goes with the 10. I can't square root that one. So in this case, this is the final answer. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the answer box. That's 3x minus 10. The last one to factor is the slide and divide. So I have 3 terms here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the slide and divide, which is the 5 times the 49. That's going to be a big number. Remember, you guys do get calculators. Please use them. So if you did that, you should have came to 245. Now I'm going to look for multiples of 245, and I'm trying to get it to equal this negative 42. So I can check the ones I just multiplied. I could check 5 times 49. If I add those together, that ends up giving me 54. So it's not these two, but I'm kind of close. I want 42, it's at 54, so I'm going to stick around the 5. Go ahead and try 6. 6 doesn't go in evenly, so I go ahead and try 7. And 7 times 35 equals 245. And then I'm going to add these two together, and this one actually gives me the 42. So I have the number. The only thing I need to watch out for is this is a negative, so I'm going to switch both of these to negative. That makes a positive 246 when I multiply, but when I add them together, it makes a negative 42. So those are going to be the factors that I use. Now don't forget the divide part. So I found those two. Now I'm going to turn around. I got this 5x. I'm going to separate him off. That was my leading term. And I'm going to place this negative 7 down below and this negative 35 down below. And I'm going to see if I can reduce them down. This first one does not reduce down. 5 over 7 doesn't reduce down. That is the first factors, 5x minus 7. I'm going to go to the second one, the 5 over 35, and it does reduce down. 5 goes into 35 7 times. So this is my second factor. It's x and negative 7. So I'm going to come over here and go, this is x minus 7. So those are how we're going to factor those 3. Now we're going to go ahead. This last one, number 4, is kind of putting it all together. It wants us to simplify. Remember, this is where we're going to factor and then cancel. So all of this was up above. That's what we factored. So I'm just going to place this up here. So 2 comes out in front. 5x minus 7. He is a married couple. I'm going to put him in the back. Remember we talked about that. If we have married people inside parentheses, they have to be identical. And the next one is 3x minus 10. Nothing I can do with that guy, so I'll just bring him over as well. Can't factor him any further. Down here, these are the 2 that we factored up above. So there's 24 minus x minus 80, that was the purple one, and we were able to factor that to 8 coming out in front as a single, and then we have a 3x minus 10. And then the other one that we already factored was this 5x squared minus, so right here we did all the work for it, so I'm just going to place those green terms that we just discovered, the 5x minus 7 and the x minus 7 at the bottom. Those are the factored versions of those equations. And now I get to do the fun part of canceling. So what is over itself? We have this married person, the 3x minus 10 over the 3x minus 10. So that couple goes. We have the 5x minus 7 over 5x minus 7. And the married people are pretty much done. So what I do know is at the bottom, I have one married couple left, which is the x minus 7. He didn't cancel off. Now I'm going to go over to these single people. We can reduce this down. So 2 reduces down to 4. So this ends up being 1 over 4. So it's going to be a 4 out in front. And pretty much everybody got canceled off. So we'll just put a 1 up at the top. And there is our final answer for the review. So hopefully this helped out. Double check your answers going through it. Take our little 5 minutes. And let's move now into multiplying. So if you got simplifying, multiplying should be fairly easy for you guys. We got to remember how to multiply fractions. When we multiply fractions, we just multiply straight across. So what was on top here stays on top. What was on bottom stays on bottom. We just go straight across and just multiply these. So when I rewrite this, up at the top I have an A and an X. So I have an A and an X. And on bottom I have an X and a B. There is no plus or minus sign, so these are just single people. So we can cancel at will whatever we can see that's over itself. So in this case, we can cancel off the x's, and I'm left with just a over b. Remember, we have work area for when we have to factor. In this case, there was nothing to factor. All right, going to number 2. Again, I don't see any pluses or minus, so this is just a whole bunch of single people. Multiplication just means that we just go straight across. Now, it will help to kind of organize a little bit, so I'm going to put the numbers out in front, so that 14 and that 9. Still multiplying, so I'm putting a dot, notice, so it doesn't look like 149. And I'll put the letters in the back. And I'm going to expand the letters out so you can see the true breakdown. Right at the bottom, my 2 numbers are 3 and 7. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the 7 here and the 3 here. Hopefully you can see why. And then I have 2 x's and 2 y's. I'll put those over each other. And at this point, we can now cancel. It's usually easier to deal with letters, so let's take care of those. We got a y over a y, so we'll cancel those off. X's over x's, we're going to cancel off. I'm just left with 1 x on the bottom. I'm going to circle him so I don't forget that he's down there. I'm going to go over to the numbers, and I can cancel also, just kind of reduce down. I can see that 9 and 3 go into each other, so I can cross that off and make that a 3, and that will cancel off. And 7 goes into 14 2 times, so I'll put a 2 up there. Now remember, this is still multiplication, it's not 23. And then I just look at what's left. So up at the top, I'm left with the 2 times 3, which is 6. And on bottom, I'm left with the x. So I have 6 over x. So hopefully you're kind of doing all right with this. When they're there. All right, now we got a bunch of kind of married people. Notice we have plus and minus signs. Again, as I said before when we were doing the simplifying, it's best when we don't see it to put the parentheses around them so that we remember that these are grouped together. I cannot separate them. All right, I can't just cancel x's and 2's, they're together. All right, so let's go up to the top. I don't have one, I'm going to put a 1 down below here. And up at the top, I have this married couple and I have this married couple. Down below, I have a 3x minus 18. All right, right now, nothing is matching up. So I got to see if I can actually factor any of these. So I'm going to come over here and say, okay, well, I got to see if I can factor. Well, x minus 6 doesn't factor. I can't square root them, none of that. That's a positive sign for the x plus 2, so he's not going to factor. But this 3x minus 18, he can factor. So go over to a work area. And first, I can't square root them, but I can divide them both by 3. So I will go ahead and do that. And I'm left with just an x minus 6. So down below I have 3 parentheses x minus 6. At this point, I do have things I can cancel. So I have an x minus 6, that's going to cancel off those married couples. And what is left is an x plus 2 on top, and on bottom a 3. So there's my final answer for number 3. All right, we only have 4 more to go. Give yourself a second, try number 4. Just pause the video, and then I'm going to put the answer up at the top, and hopefully you got it right. So check to see where you went wrong or right. So this is very similar to the last one. So again, pause the video and do number 4. All right, hopefully you had number 4 done, or at least you paused and tried it on your own. Your answer should have been a minus 3 over 5. So remember, we'd factor out a 5 here, and then the x plus 2's would cancel off. All right, let's go to number 5. So now we're getting into some of these big ones. This has a mixture of married people and non-married people, all kinds of fun. So I'm going to go ahead. This has a bunch of plus and minus signs. These are together, all 3 of these terms, just like all 3 of these terms are together. These are my single people. Now, this one can be easy if you can see it right off the bat that these match. I don't really need to factor that to see that these 2 parentheses match. So you can immediately cross this group because they're all together and they matched. So the only thing I'm really left with is 6n over 4n. And again, these are single, there's no plus and minus. So at this point, I can actually cancel off the ends, and I can reduce down 6 over 4. I can divide a 2 out of both of these. So that's what I'll do, and I'm left with 3 over 2. So number 5, the answer is just 3 over 2. All right, our last 2 to go. So the last 2 are kind of the big ones. So again, we're multiplying. I say they're big because all of them are going to need some factoring. So I'm going to turn around. It's going to require a lot. We have our top and our bottom. Keep in mind, again, these guys are married. These guys are married. We'll just kind of color code them. These guys are married. We have the red, the green, the blue, and we'll make the bottom one here the purple. As you can notice, that purple one is very familiar to what we did on the review. So if you can see multiple ones, it kind of helps out. All right, all of these technically go on one fraction. Up at the top, I have the red one. I will check to see if I can factor him. I have the green one. I will also have to check to see because I can already see none of these are matching up. So we're going to have to do some factoring for these ones. So it's 24k minus 80, and then the purple one. All right. So again, notice I have the grouping, so I know they're all together. There are no single people at this stage. There might be after I do factoring, but right now there isn't anything. So when I look at the first one, the red, I would first see, can I square root these? No. Can I divide anything out? No. This one's pretty much in its factored form then. So I'm going to go ahead and write him down saying there's nothing I can do with that guy. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to take a look at the green one. All right, this one, again, I can't square root this as it stands, but I can already see that I have a 6 and a 20, so I should be able to divide something out. In this case, I'm going to try dividing by 2. Start off with the little number. And that leaves me with 3k minus 10. And I look at that and say, well, 3k minus 10 doesn't factor any further, but it did factor. I was able to take a 2 out. That was it. So I'm going to put the 2 out in front. I like having the married people out in front, and then the single people in the back. And I'm going to move that red one so that we have a little bit of room to put them in the way I like to have them. So I like to have single people out in front. Those are the people I can kill off, just little bits and pieces. But the red and the green, they have to look identical. If they don't, I can't cancel. All right, let's go to the blue now. We have 24k minus 80. Once again, I do have subtraction. I would normally want to do the square rooting, but at first I need to, again, divide out what we have in common. In this case, it should look real familiar. It's the 8. We did this one again on that review if you need to go back up to look at how we factored that. So I'm going to turn around. 8 is singled, but the 3k, I mean, you can even put it right underneath his partner where we know we're going to cancel if you want, but put the single people out in front and married people in the back. It'll help you. Right, our last one to factor is our slide and divide method. So that means these are a trinomial. That was the one that gave us 245, and the factors were -7 and -35. And then as a reminder, we then do the division, where we take the leading term and we put those ones underneath and see if we can reduce them out. This one doesn't reduce, so I have a 5k minus 7. And then this one does reduce down to k minus 7. And then becomes our fun part where we can finally cancel stuff off. So this cancels with this cancels with this. When it comes to the single people, these do reduce down. I'm left with a 1/4. So there is kind of my answer. I have a 1 on top, a 4, and this k minus 7. So your answer should be 1/4 k minus 7. That is our final answer for that one. All right, hopefully this kind of makes sense and it's easy. Again, as I said, factoring is just something you're going to have to do the whole time. So you want to get really good at it. All right, going on to number 7 as I kind of move everything off so we can see it. Give you guys just a few minutes again. I would highly suggest pausing the video, trying to do these 4, factoring them, and then come back and see how well you did. All right, so I'm going to color code. I have my red, which is 10r minus 12. I'm going to have my green, which is the 5r squared plus 30r. And I'm going to start by factoring those. These are all going to go on top and bottom, so I'm just going to kind of move this. I can see this one, the 5r right here. He's single, nothing to factor, so I'll just put him down at the bottom. But I will have to deal with this guy, the purple one. So let's first start with the red one. What can I divide out of 10 and 12? Hopefully you said 2. That should leave you with a 2, 5r minus 6. And then I would try to see if I can square root it. I can't square root 5, so I'm kind of done with that. 2 is going to come out to the single area, and we'll put the married people in the back, those parentheses. Going on to our 5r squared, we're going to divide this by 5 and an r. That gives us 5r out in front. I'm left with an r plus 6. So we'll turn around and put the 5r, the little multiplication, and we'll put the r plus 6 in the back. Now we're going to go to the last one to factor. Hopefully you did that one. It is another one of those slide and divides. It's a little bit easier. It's not 245, it was -30. And the multiples of -30 that equaled our -1 was a 5 times -6. That equals our -1. So then I'm going to put the 5r over 5 and the 5r over -6. Remember, those go down at the bottom. And the top one here, that goes on top. Looking at this one does reduce down. And don't forget, if you cancel it off, don't put an r. There's a 1 there. So that's r plus 1 for one of them. And then this one doesn't reduce down, so he's just 5r minus 6. Just be careful of that canceling. If we cancel everything, remember, it's not really a fraction, we're reducing it down, but these are our terms still. That's still the first term, that's still the second term. We need to have a second term. All right, now comes the fun part of canceling. Married people, those guys are gone. Those ones get to stay. The 5r's get to cancel off. So I'm left with a 2 on top and an r minus 6. So I have a 2 parentheses, r plus 6. And on bottom, I'm left with just the r plus 1. I would leave them in parentheses. That way you remember not to cancel anything that you shouldn't. All right, well, I hope this helped. That's about 20 minutes. Please get on to your homework now. Thanks, bye.